you're seeing a lot of people put under a spotlight that they may not be prepared to be under. And Dabo Swinney's been under some of the biggest spotlights in all of the college football world, right? On these national championship stages, winning these huge games and being a coach that is beloved by his players, both black and white. Yeah. But what I think we may look back on and what you may see Dabo Swinney come out and say, and I can't put words in his mouth, but he may be learning a lot about all of this along with some of the rest of us. And he may be looking back on this time and saying, you know what, I wasn't quite prepared for what I would be asked to do. And I was thinking, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. And Domonique, that may not be the case, and it may not have been enough. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when he is participating, because I believe he will, in this peaceful protest that's been organized by the Clemson players tomorrow night. What do you think Dabo needs to say there? Because I think that's a moment for him where he really could change some of the narrative here.
I think he should call you and have you write his speech, because I think what you just said right there is exactly what he should say. But I would like to point out, having this luxury of being naive and blind and ignorant to all these things for so long is privilege. And that's what we're talking about. And I've been yelling about these things for a couple of weeks. I'm sure that people are going to stop me from doing this very soon, but I'm going to keep doing it for now. I think that is a privilege that we need to be aware of, and that he needs to be aware of. And while he can take his time to get educated, some of us don't have that time. Like George Floyd didn't have that time. And obviously Dabo Swinney is not directly connected to that. But I do think that the disenfranchisement that's happening to a lot of black people, while we're waiting for you guys to figure it out and get educated and understand what's happening, we are losing. Mina?
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly. Look, I am not criticizing Dabo's character. I'm not criticizing the fact that he is apparently a beloved football coach who has been a positive influence in the lives of hundreds of young men. But I will criticize the fact that he is a middle-aged man only learning these things now, who has been around those men for decades. And I think that's completely fair. And it's something that applies, it doesn't just apply to him, right? As everyone comes forward and said, I'm listening and learning, that's great. But it is remarkable and worth noting that it has taken this long, Domonique.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, and I think that us being able to find some compassion for people who are taking some time to catch up, like, I think is a noble thing to do, but so many of us don't have that time, and it's frustrating and disappointing, and I think that throughout this past couple of weeks, where it feels like we've turned the spotlight on a lot of white men, and it feels like people care about what we think, or not just white men, but just white people. People care about what we think when it comes to these issues. Like, I think it's incumbent on us to keep applying the pressure and find a way, obviously, to do it in a respectful way and give people the credit where they deserve the credit. But we now, while they're listening, because we will go back to a time that's probably a lot more like it was in the past, where no one is listening. When sports come back and economies open back up, and we are going back to, they are no longer going to be listening. So I think the time to push for change right now. And Dabo Swinney, you're right. I don't understand how a college football coach in South Carolina, who was a college football player in Alabama, and Dabo, who himself came up from nothing, like he got everything from the mud, and he went through a lot. I don't understand how you can get to this point and not understand certain things. So that, to me, I mean, I guess we have to be willing to understand it and forgive it, but I don't understand it at all. I don't understand how you can build your life around football and be around these people all the time and go into these homes and recruit these young black men from their situation and not at some point question, like, why is the world the way it is? Why are these situations the way they are? Like that. Maybe he had to be hyper-focused on football to become as great a football coach as he was, and maybe that's his excuse, but now that excuse doesn't fly anymore.
Heck, I think it'll help him recruit, quite frankly, to be more understanding and have listening ear. But there are people at home listening and saying, well, it feels like you can't say anything, right? Like, because you're going to get criticized. If you say I'm listening, you're going to get criticized, and they'll say, why did it take you this long? That's not true necessarily, right? Yes, we're criticizing what Dabo said, but I'm going to point to another white football coach, Tom Herman. Go look at what he has said about this issue, because I found it far more incisive than what many other college coaches have said, saying this goes beyond just aligning with this movement and being part of the trend. It means looking inside your own house, looking how you treat your own employees, whether you'd let someone date your daughter, whether you'd hire someone. That is what we want to hear, because that is indicative of a genuinely open mind.